Okay, yes. Hello. Could I just make a quick statement about what my parents taught me about the afterlife?
Sure.
Okay, they believe that as long as anybody who is still alive remembered you, either fondly or not fondly, you existed in some form after you died.
Yeah, that's kind of what Ed was talking about.
Yeah.
I have some pedantic objections to that, to say that that is existence. But I'm fine with it as a concept because clearly we affect people's lives, and there's a memory that
it's a concept. Yeah. Okay. Now let me get on to my question, which to me suggests that there are creators, there are universe creators who live outside the space and time of the universe they create.
Okay.
So my question is, here's the question. Yes.
Were you listening earlier when we talked about anything outside of space and time? Basically, you're saying Kent Hovind has an argument that God exists outside of space and time, and how do you respond to that? Is that the question?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, first of all, it's not an argument, it's a claim, and so the response is prove it. Secondarily, you can talk about what does it mean to exist outside of space and time? What makes you think there is any possibility or anything that is outside of space and time? And existence is necessarily temporal. If something exists for 0 seconds, it doesn't exist, right?
Yeah, correct.
So if it exists outside of time, then it exists for no time, right?
Correct. Yeah.
But the big thing is, to ask him to demonstrate the claim. When somebody makes a claim like this about God or creation or anything else, they've adopted a burden of proof. They've made a positive claim. They need to defend it. If instead you start looking for a way to debunk that, you've already made a mistake because you're shifting the burden of proof onto you. You leave it right where it belongs.
That is true.
Were you listening earlier when we talked about anything outside of space and time?
Yes, that's why I call. That's why I decided to call in today.
Okay,
on
cool.
This subject.
So
All right.
I'm guessing you're suggesting you have a solution to that problem.
Yes.
Cool, go for it.
I have a question. But tell me. Let's see how you answer it. Okay. The question is: does George R.R. Martin live in Westeros?
No.
Is he outside the space and time of Westeros?
Westeros doesn't have space and time.
How do you know that?
There's no demonstration that Westeros exists as anything other than a fictional invention. If you can demonstrate that Westeros exists and has space and time, then we could start having a discussion down that path. But until that happens, you're stuck.
Well, you're not in the space and time of Westeros either, so how could you verify whether it exists or not?
I didn't. The burden of proof on claiming that Westeros has space and time is on the people who are claiming that Westeros has space and time. The time to believe it is after it's been demonstrated.
How would you demonstrate it?
I don't know. That's not my problem. I'm not the one that's silly enough to suggest that it has space and time. Do you think Westeros has space and time?
Not in this space and time. Not in this. Not in this universe. No.
Do you think Westeros exists? Do you think Westeros exists and has space and time in some universe, alternate reality, whatever?
Exactly. Yes.
You do.
I think that anytime. Yes. Anytime you make a choice or imagine anything, you create a potential universe in which that not only does that exist, but the opposite of it exists.
Is there a universe that I can create where I don't have to take calls that are speculative like this?
Yes, you may not be able to
You're
live in
right.
it.
This is that universe all of a sudden.
Welcome to the new reality.
He no longer exists in our space and time, but he's in another universe.
I know Julie is right now upset that I didn't say no, you're done. So if you're going to call in and talk about how you have the solution to determining that something is outside of space and time, and you begin by taking something fictional, essentially his thing was, if we live on in somebody's mind, which is why I have that pedantic objection.
And you're right, that's a fair
And then he uses that to say, well, Westeros is a fictional, and so George R.R. Martin is outside of that space and time. So there's a creator outside of the space and time. No, that's not the way this actually works. See, we inhabit a reality as far as we can tell, and space-time are labels that we put on both the physical dimensions and what seems to be a progression of events. Claiming that you, as someone, by the way, I should probably let you continue, because even if we said Westeros had space and time, the people in Westeros have no access to confirm that George R.R. Martin exists. Done.
You know what just suddenly occurred to me?
What?
Fiction is hard solipsism.
Yes.
Yeah. The Westeros exists in George R.R. Martin's head. He invented all of those characters in his head. They do what he tells them to do, and only what he tells them to do. He is a hard solipsist in control of that alternate universe.
Yep. And the thing to take away, which is why I probably should have let that go just a little further so I could make this point, is this. Daenerys has no access to R.R. Martin. There's no way for her to cross it. But even if she exists in the space-time, you have to have a demonstration that she has access outside of space and time in order for her belief that George R.R. Martin exists to be warranted. It may be true that there is a God that exists outside of space and time, but you cannot have a warranted belief that that God exists until you demonstrate that you have some access to that which exists outside of space and time. You can't tell you anything about it, which is probably why he identifies as a pantheist, because he doesn't want to say exactly, I don't want to necessarily call it a God, but there's got to be something. And that argument is as nonsensical as starting with Westeros. But
and by the way, I have never seen 1 second of an episode of Game of Thrones, so send your hate mail.
Get out of my studio.
Send your hate mail to idon'tcare@gmail.com.
Oh, I just can't.
I've never seen Breaking Bad.
Oh, my God.
I know.
I want to show of hands in the studio. How many people would like Ed to continue on the show today? All right, you got enough votes.
All right.
That's all right.